Exploration in WoW has been around for a long time. Since WoW's inception, people have been trying to go out of bounds, getting to secret places within the game that they're not necessarily supposed to access. Going out of bounds in WoW has been very popular, from players discovering famous places like GM Island, to even uncovering unreleased content that's never made it to the game, as well as leaking expansions. But going out of bounds in WoW is a bit weird. If you look on YouTube, there's quite a lot of content of people going out of bounds, discovering things, and exploring the game and going to secret locations and so on, sometimes not within the terms of service. This type of content is very popular, and I've made a few videos on this channel of me going to various locations that you're not supposed to go to, out of bounds places, and the viewership's quite good. Why is this so intriguing to so many people? I've wondered this myself, and I think it comes down to a few key ideas. I think the biggest reason is that it's very interesting to see behind the curtain as to how WoW is made. We only get to play the game in a very limited way that the game developers have designed for us to play in. But what happens if we step outside of that and look at how the game was made? By going out of bounds, we can see the game from a completely different perspective, from the perspective of the game developers, and you get to see the weird little quirks of how they cobble together a zone, how things are made, and what lies beyond out of bounds if you go out of a zone. There's quite a few places in the game, like I've made on this channel, one raid instance, there's like a whole different zone outside. Like there's quite a few zones in WoW where there's just so much weird terrain and crazy content that you can discover if you go out of bounds and do a bit of tricky jumping to see what's going on. Seeing how the game is made from the developer's perspective is wholly fascinating. It's kind of like stepping into the fourth dimension. We're playing the game and, you know, we're so used to just thinking from our character, and like there's the raid boss, there's the enemy, and yada yada. Going out of bounds, you get an opportunity to step out of this and look at things from a completely different perspective. When I was playing WoW when I was 12 years old, me and my buddies would frequently go out and try to wall jump and get to new areas and try to leave the bounds of the game and discover something new. I came up with a way, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to come up with this, where in Durotar you could get to the edge of the world and you would see this weird terrain that cuts off the zone into this like void, and if you step into that void you disconnect. This is so fascinating. You get to see what happens if you swim past the fatigue line and go beyond that. There's like a whole void zone that just disconnects you automatically. Knowing this is completely pointless, but it's just fascinating to see how the game is developed in that way. And Blizzard has a tendency in raids and dungeon instances to have like copy and pasted zone terrain from files that don't even exist. You can see the old Zul Garub from Karazhan, I believe. I don't know if that's still the way it is today, but like the way they hobble together a lot of these dungeon instances is that they just copy and paste content from files that they have, and you can go explore it if you go out of bounds. One of the golden periods in WoW exploration is Nogaholic. This was a movie that was released way back in the days of vanilla when Warcraft movies was a thing. It was one of the most popular WoW videos on there, and it let people see things that they have never seen before, content that wasn't even supposed to be released up until further expansions that gave us a sneak peek. And it's all thanks to people that got out of bounds and discovered things for themselves. People that did WoW exploration back in the day, it wasn't just a fun gimmicky hobby, we were actually leaking future content for WoW. It blew a lot of people's minds to see all of this crazy unreleased content, but this leads on to a controversial aspect of it, which is that it's very much within the grey area of the terms of service. I'm not going to advocate that you go out of bounds and glitch outside the map in any iteration of WoW that Blizzard is running, because it does actually have the risk of getting your account in trouble if you do so. Like, for example, if you go out of bounds in a given location, usually nothing bad happens to you. You're not going to have any account suspension or anything usually, unless you use it to exploit some kind of in-game mechanic. For instance, in Classic WoW, there was a way to go underneath Stormwind. That by itself is one thing, but if you were to use that to like kill people in PvP and they couldn't fight back, yeah, that would be an issue, and you might likely get your account suspended, and I can't really blame Blizzard for doing that. But like, if you're just exploring WoW and going out of bounds on your own fruition, probably nothing's gonna happen. But if you take it that step further and try to exploit the game mechanics, yeah, that's when Blizzard comes down on you usually. But it's all against terms of service technically anyway. But this creates a bit of a Streisand effect. Like I've spoke about this in my GM Island video, where because it's not technically allowed, it makes it way more interesting to go out of bounds in WoW, to see what is beyond the confined walls that you're in, and stepping out of that, being frowned upon by Blizzard, makes it more interesting. I'm sure if Blizzard were like A-okay with glitching outside of a map or whatever, then it wouldn't be that interesting anymore, but the fact that Blizzard doesn't necessarily like it makes people want to do it more. It's kind of that Streisand effect. There are so many great WoW explorers out there, and there's quite a few people that make amazing content, even discovering new things in the game today. And, you know, I've made my videos on it in the past, and you can go check them out. But there's so many talented people in the WoW exploration community. It really is a niche within this niche. It's honestly such a fun time to just exploring what the game has to offer in unique and weird ways. Well guys, if you enjoyed this video, drop a like and sub for more. This is Volty signing out.